Flora with us today. Thank you, Flora, for joining us from South Africa, where you guys are on lockdown. Like, what day are you on? You're not allowed to leave your house. Is that right?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, I am on a 21-day lockdown. This is day 4, and it's Monday. And so far, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, but my day is not that different.
I actually had the same thing happen. Yeah, we went on like shelter at home, and I was like, "Oh, this doesn't change anything for me."
Yeah, I know. It's like welcome to my life, everybody. This is, I mean, the one big thing is obviously I can't leave my house to go train. But I'm quite nicely set up. I have an indoor bike room with my Zwift and my Wahoo kicker, and I just had to like buy a treadmill in like 24 hours because I realized I wasn't going to be able to leave my house to go run. So I was a complete panic. Then I have nice little gym equipment. And the one thing that like really helped me was that 4 weeks ago, I broke my hand.
That helped you?
Well, it helped me because it's a very embarrassing way how I broke my hand, but we can get to that later. But it helped prepare me because it cut away the swimming. So I was already used to not swimming, and I was already riding indoors because I wasn't allowed to ride outdoors. So like it was a nice like intro into what true lockdown would be like. So for me, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You guys like literally aren't allowed to go outside, right? Is that you have to stay inside completely?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can go outside into our yard, but yeah, you're not supposed to go walk around the neighborhood unless you're going to the grocery store, which we conveniently have a grocery store like 600 meters from our house. So, I mean, I walk there if I need something, and that's like a nice little like, okay. I'm in the outside world. So you can do that, but you shouldn't be out exercising. You shouldn't be out walking your dog, like leaving your house for the really bare essentials like groceries or medical reasons or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Because we here in the US, we haven't gone that strict yet. You're allowed to exercise outside still, but there's a lot of debate over what does that entail. Maybe you shouldn't be doing 2-a-days outside. Maybe you could chill out a little. But obviously, like you said, you already injured your hand. You had a lot going on. How have you been dealing with all of this then? Now you can't even go outside. I mean, I feel like I would just give up. I would just be like, screw it.
Give up. Yeah, I'm done. Well, it was a pretty hard week because the same day, like literally the same day we got announced we're going into 21-day lockdown was the same day I found out that the Olympics was postponed. So it was just like, I mean, I was like, oh my God, like everything my whole life has been like building for, like my professional life,
right,
is just like not going to happen this year. And then you find out, okay, now you can't leave your house for 21 days. So, I mean, in my, my tiny little triathlon world, that was just like, I don't know, crazy for me to deal with. But in the reality, of course, it all makes sense with the coronavirus and what's going on in the world and, and all of that. But yeah, it's just been a lot to deal with. And you're like, well, what do I even do now? Do I need to be stressing that I'm not swimming? Because like, am I even going to race this year?
No.
Nobody else is swimming. Nobody else is training properly. So in one hand, that's kind of comforting. You're like, I'm not the only one over here. But at the same time, you're like, why am I doing this training day in and day out if I'm not going to race? But I guess literally it gives me something to do. Like it passes the time. So that's my motivator right now. It passes the time.
There are like 2 people who have those fancy master spas, and I think they're going to beat everyone once we're finally racing again.
I'm so jealous of them. Yeah. That's like, every triathlete is like, those people. I can't believe it. Yeah. But hey, great time to have one.
Yeah. Yeah. So you obviously, I mean, your whole plan this year, all the Olympians plans were like aiming for 4 months from now, Tokyo. How do you kind of adjust your season? Obviously, it's hard to adjust your season right now because you don't even know what's going to happen. But assuming we get racing again by August, how do you kind of adjust your training, your plan? I saw on the Instagram, you said you had very different plans for 2021. And I had been like, really hoping that a bunch of you were going to come out to 70.3 Worlds, because I know you got your spot, like Ashley Gentle got her spot. And I thought it was going to be so exciting. All these Olympians show up after the Olympics in November, move up to 70.3. But now I'm wondering, are you guys still going to do that? Is that still a thing? What were your plans and what are they now? Yeah.
I know. Everything has shifted a year. Okay. So, of course, I was expecting to race the Olympics this year. That was the big goal. And then I was hoping to have like a bit more of a relaxed 2021. Of course, the WTS Grand Final is in Bermuda. So that is a huge, huge target for 2021. And so I'd still race the WTS series. But I was quite keen to sort of dip my toe in to the 70.3 distance a little bit more, do a few more races. So kind of combine the two, which I think is kind of a fun. I mean, I really enjoy racing and I enjoy racing different formats. So doing sort of both is actually like fun for me. So yeah, it's like a cool new challenge.
Right.
But of course, next year, maybe I can do 170.3. But yeah, it's going to be a very different year. If everything is going to be then focused on the Olympics, which they just announced will start July 23rd, 2021. So
right. So that kind of moves the whole schedule then, like both ways.
Yeah, it does. So, which, I mean, I don't know, to some people that might seem, oh, it's just a year, but it's like, it's a lot building up for an Olympics, like particularly when you're a medal favorite, like you have that looming over you for another year. Like, like when I go home to Bermuda, or even just generally around, like in the triathlon circles, it's like, it's pretty much weekly, daily that someone brings up about, oh, the Olympics. Oh, you're trying to win a medal. Oh, this, that. I'm like, yes, I am. Can we not talk about it all the time? Yes. It's like, it's just healthy pressure, Flora. I'm like, yes, thank you.
You are, I mean, like, I would imagine Bermuda's interesting because you were a big enough celebrity before you won the WTS race in Bermuda. Now I have to imagine like everywhere you go, people are stopping you, right?
Yeah, that race. I mean, because you were there. Was that
like 2 years ago? And
January 2018. So before the first one of the WTSs there, right?
Yeah, yes. That's when I came. Yeah. And I thought you were still like a pretty big celebrity then, but now I have to imagine it's like kind of crazy.
Now it's exploded. Well, that and then Commonwealth Games that year as well. So that was in March 2018, and then 6 weeks later was WTS Bermuda. So the combination of those two is just like explosion. But it's incredible. It's so cool that the community all came out to support the race, and that they can get so excited about triathlon. And sport, just bringing the community together is such a wonderful thing.
I feel like we should tell, for people who don't know, Flora grew up in Bermuda, which is a tiny island. Yeah. Like, we rode all the way to the end of the island on our bikes when I was there 2 years ago. And I think it took 2 hours round trip. Like, it's a tiny island, and she's a very big celebrity there, which is like kind of hilarious because I don't think triathletes are big celebrities other places, but in Bermuda. What is it? I mean, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about what it's like growing up in Bermuda. For both it being tiny, you guys are also really good at triathlon. Like, Tyler Butterfield's also from there. The mixed team relay got, third at the Commonwealth Games? I mean, you only have like 4 elite triathletes, and you got third in the mixed relay. So,
wait, we weren't quite third. We were 5th, but that's still very, very good. I'm pretty sure we were 5th. Yeah, but no, you're right. Like, we literally have 4 triathletes that race at, I guess, like pro level.
Right.
Tyler doesn't even do ITU anymore. So we are grateful that Tyler Butterfield came back down from Ironman distance to race at the Commonwealth Games. And it just gave us this incredible opportunity to have Bermuda, tiny Bermuda, 65,000 people, compete at the mixed team relay at the Commonwealth Games, which, like, for a lot of people, like, to realize how much went into having 4 of us to race at that level, like, it's amazing. And somehow triathlon is a fairly big sport in Bermuda. It's very well supported in terms of, like, the community is very involved. The Bermuda Triathlon Association have a lot of really great members that just help promote the sport. We have lots of great events throughout the year. So it has its own little following there, and it's just managed to produce, Tyler Butterfield, myself, Erica Holy, and Tyler Smith. And it's so weird, especially like when in Boulder, when both Tyler and I turn up to the pool, Butterfield, and you're like, how are there two of us from Bermuda here swimming in Boulder? Like, it just always makes me smile. But yeah, Bermuda is a beautiful little island. It was incredible to grow up there. I mean, just hanging on the beach all day, riding my bike around on the railway trail. It's an incredible little place. And I'm so grateful that that's where I'm from and that's where I get to call home, and that I don't get to spend too much time there anymore because of my racing and traveling. But every time I get to go back, and when I got to introduce my husband to the island, like that was such a special privilege, and to see the island through his eyes and see like the love he's cultivating for the place. It's just so cool. So special.
Because you guys now, so your husband's Dan Hugo, who is from South Africa. So you guys now spend like half your time in South Africa, half in Boulder, and then you like go back to Bermuda sometimes, and you're flying around the world for races. It's pretty much like you and like, he goes with you pretty much everywhere, right? And that's kind of how that works, or?
Yes, it does. So I'm very lucky that he can now join me and like pretty much fully supports me. He does have his own. He doesn't just
he doesn't just support you.
Bad to just support me, but that's not Dan. Dan would know. He needs a lot more. He's like the most busiest man I know. But no, he has a nut butter business in South Africa called Butternut, and so he and his business partner Antoine, they run that full time. Luckily, Dan has the flexibility to do his role from anywhere in the world, so he can spend sort of 6 months in Boulder, 6 months in Stellenbosch. When he's here in Stellenbosch, I don't see him that much because he goes into work every day. But then in Boulder and during the race season, he's with me, 24/7 supporting me, which is a huge, huge help. That hasn't always been the case. It's only, I would say, the second half of 2017 and 2018, he was full-time going to races with me. So there's a lot of races in 2016 I would just rock up to solo, which is kind of funny when I think back to it. I'm like, how did I do that? Because now, like, the thought of going to a race alone, I'm like, no way. But yeah, it's such a big help having him there to support me and literally like do everything. So I just have to turn up and swim, bike, run. It's easy.
It's easy. It's not hard. It's fun. I feel like a lot of people, and I'm not going to like characterize our listeners. Maybe they all have been following your career since you were like 16, but a lot of people I feel like think Flora Duffy, like, oh, she just like popped onto the scene a few years ago and it was like really good. People kind of don't realize you've been doing it since you were a kid. You were like a super good as junior. I don't remember if you won junior worlds or whatever, but you were then you went to the Olympics like at like 16, 17, kind of totally crashed out of the sport, quit for a long time, and then like came back around slowly, like had to deal with. So it's like this very long story that like it's kind of taking you a long time to get here, which I think actually a lot of our like listeners and readers would really appreciate, because a lot of them have like ups and downs. It's not actually easy, right? It's not just like one day you woke up and we're like, oh, I'm going to be a world champion. It took like a really long time. So yeah, I'm hoping maybe you can just like tell us a little bit about like that wasn't a question. That was just like FYI, guys. Like, it took a long time. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that's like just to like, why did you come back after you quit? How did you even like keep at it for so long?
Yeah, so I was second at Junior Worlds at 18, and at the same time as racing junior, I raced in it was only World Cups at the time, but that was the equivalent of WTS. So I was 18 racing in like the big leagues and had a few really good results and sort of burst onto the scene. But for me as an 18-year-old, that was just, I don't know, too much for me to deal with. I went up to the Olympics, but just had all sorts of struggles. And I just really needed to step back from the sport for various reasons. And so I did. And I went to the University of Colorado and I forgot about triathlon. I joined a sorority, which which was fun, but it wasn't quite me. So that was kind of like my epiphany moment of like, oh my gosh, Flora, you need to get back into the triathlon. Like that's you. This is not you. Stop. You tried, but
you tried to be a sorority girl, but no.
Yeah, no, didn't work. So that time I was like around 21, 22. And then sort of from there, I just slowly got back into training. I joined the CU cycling team, did a lot of cycling races, which I just really enjoyed. And that sort of got my competitive spirit back, and then eventually bit the bullet and did my first World Cup. It was, June 2010, and it was the High V World Cup. And at that time, that was like the big money World Cup.
Right,
so
right.
All the stars were there. And I was just like, oh my gosh, why'd you choose this one as your first one back? But the race went pretty well. And I think I was top 20, which I was pumped about. Like I was like 20th, as I say, top 20. But like I was thrilled with that. And then just from there, just started like working my way back. But that was 22. And, oh man, there were so many ups and downs along the way. Qualified for London, but like literally I'd be like, I freakishly finished 5th in one WTS. And then like 2 weeks later at the next WTS, I'd be like 45th. And it was just like all over the place. And then eventually things kind of just started clicking a bit more into place. If you ask my parents, they'll say that's because I met Dan. And then
I was like, I feel like I asked my parents, and they were like, Dan. Yeah, Dan is the answer.
Dan is the reason Flora got good at triathlon again. Yeah. But I did. He introduced me to Xterra. I was doing a little bit before that. But really, I mean, he was the top of his game when I met him in Xterra. So I got to learn all from him. And it was just like really fun that we could do it together. And then I just had a bit of success there. I won my first world title in 2014.
In Xterra,
yeah. I think I was 26 or 27. And just kind of from there, that I got a lot more of my confidence back. I'd been training pretty solidly for a few years. And that just sort of springboarded me back into racing. I've then, just racing back more into the ITU stuff, and just came in with just a new attitude of why am I doing this, and also realized I'm doing this full time, so I need to make it work. Like this is my job now, so like I can't just like sit, swim well, sit around in this pack, and then hope I run okay. Like no, I need to be assertive, and I need to make these races, try and shape this race so that it suits my strengths. So that I can have success. And so that's not easy to do. And it took me quite a few years to sort of cultivate those skills. But that's just kind of like the mindset that I had. And yeah, it took a lot of work, but I somehow got there. There's a lot of tears along the way, but I managed to sort of get myself back there.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously then you kind of went like, I don't remember exactly, but you went undefeated for a while in 2018, won the world championship. And I think we all were like, oh man, like last year was going to be your year. And then you got injured again. Right. And I feel like it's like little injuries, right? It's been, I can't even keep track, but I like, yeah. And that can be like kind of demoralizing, right? You get like one injury, you solve it, you get another, you're like,
yeah. Oh no, I was super injured. So like kind of this is the timeline. 2016 was like somehow freaky out of nowhere. Flora like comes onto the scene and is like world number one leading into the Olympics. Won my first WTS, which was just like crazy. And then managed to win the world title that year. And then beginning of 2017, I had an injury in my hip. So I missed the first 2 WTS races and then managed to come back from that successfully. Had a good season. Then I won that 2017 world title overall. And then 2018 started off great. And then the big injury happened. I had a stress reaction in my navicular and I tore my post-tib tendon right at the insertion into the navicular, which is like, don't do that. That is like the ultimate.
That's the
Don't
one that
mess
takes
with
like
that
forever
area.
to heal, right? Because there's no blood to the
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't break my navicular, which is super, super bad.
Right.
But I felt like it was like the equivalent of the process to get back.
Right.
But yeah, so that happened at the beginning of 2018. That was May 2018. I did one more race in 2018, which was a terrible idea, but didn't really return to racing until August 2019.
That's like
So
a
I
long
basically
time.
missed
Yeah.
most of the 2018 season and most of the 2019 season. And now I'm going to miss most of the 2020 season. Oh no, my gosh, Flora. But this one's not my fault.
Right.
I'm ready.
You're ready. Whenever they call race again, you're ready.
Yeah, minus my hand.
Right. And then you have these freak injuries where I feel like on Instagram I see like you got attacked by a dog and then you got your hand stuck in a lane line and broke your finger. Like what?
Yeah, so that also happened. That happened 4 weeks ago. My hand caught the lane line. So I don't know if you've ever been swimming and you've clipped the lane line.
Yeah.
And been like, ooh, that hurt. Maybe get a little bit of like a cut or a bruise. Well, as my hand was entering the water, my pinky got caught in between the lane rope and it got pulled backwards and sideways. And I actually fractured my 5th metacarpal. And it was a spiral fracture, like quite a bad one. Like I saw the x-ray and I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I had to have surgery. So I have a little plate in there. And the surgery happened 4 weeks ago.
So you're like, oh man, so you haven't swum in a while. No biggie.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah. Yeah, I really haven't swum in a while. So try not to think about that one.
So obviously, I mean, who knows what plans are? It's like impossible. I feel like so weird when I've been talking to athletes because usually you'd be like, what are your plans for this year? And now you're like, I don't know. No one knows what the plans are. But you did do a 70.3 at the end of last year. And I think in the future, you're kind of thinking about doing some of that. Did you like it? How is it different? What did you think about it compared to, I mean, it's way smaller. There was like 7 girls or something, I'm assuming, in your field? Yeah.
Yeah, it was real small. Well, so yeah, that was the beginning of this year, beginning of 2020. So I did 70.3 South Africa, which was the end of January.
Right.
Yeah. So I did enjoy it. It was very, very different. I mean, I've raced obviously some Xterra, but primarily just ITU, where you line up and there's 60 girls and off you go. And it's very, very intense. So this was, a lot more relaxed. There was, I think, 7 girls in the field.
Right.
And I was one of the stronger swimmers. So I kind of just got away and swam at my own pace, which I didn't really know. I was like, how hard should I swim? Because I've got a long day ahead of me. And like, I'm used to swimming like flat box, like,
right.
Like I need to stay on these feet, be as far up as I can. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't think that's necessary. That's not going to bode well for the other 4 hours that I'm going to race. So yeah, that was pretty smooth. And then my coach and he came up with some very exact power zones that I need to stay in, which I was like, cool, this is great. This is a long way. And a great nutrition plan, which also helped keep me on track and just keep me a bit focused because it's a long way, 90 Ks to ride. And I was primarily on my own. So
yeah, I know. I like how you're like, guess what, guys? 70.3 is long.
It's long. But one thing that really sticks out, because in ITU, the swim exit through transition and the first 5 to 10 minutes of the bike, or the first lap of the bike, is like extreme. Like you are
right, like
trying to make the pack, trying to get off the front, you've had a bad swim. Like, no, you're hustling. Whereas this, I got on my bike and I ramped up to speed and I was like, oh, I'm in my power zones. Okay. This is what I'm supposed to be riding. Okay, cool. I'll just keep doing this. Like, if there wasn't this extreme stress or like I don't know. It was just so strange for me to just be able to go my own pace.
Right.
And obviously it'll be very different when you go to like World Championships and there's more women around you. But then obviously then you hold that for 90Ks and you're like, well, this is a long way and a long grind. But yeah, I mostly, I think, enjoyed the experience. It didn't all go to plan. I had some issues on the bike. I didn't spend much time on the TT bike before the race, I have to admit. So
90K was long, is what you're saying.
It was long. My left glute like completely locked up and I struggled to push power on the way back. And I managed to lose 9 minutes and 45 Ks on a mostly downhill section with a mad tailwind. So it really went wrong for me. Like, because I was leading the first like 45 Ks, I had the moto guys, they were all behind me. The lead car was behind me. So then when I started like majorly having issues and blowing up, they were like, oh my gosh, like what is going on with Flora? Like she's literally not pedaling her bike anymore. So they would like ride up to me and be like, Flora, are you okay? Do you need medical? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And then like 5 minutes later, they're like, are you sure you don't need medical? Are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Just having some issues, but I'll be okay. So anyway, that really threw me for a loop, but I just kind of kept remembering this is a long race. So like anything can happen. Just get off the bike, reassess, keep taking your gels in at my prescribed intervals that I was meant to be taking them in. And then, I got off onto the run and I felt pretty good. And just kind of ran as best I could because I really wanted to qualify for 70.3 Worlds at the end of the year. And I came off the bike in third and there's only one spot. So I was like, okay, Flora, you've just got to get your butt into gear here. And then, I really enjoyed the run. It was nice. The crowd was great. The course was it's really challenging, but I enjoyed it. And it was cool that I've never liked to run amongst the age groupers like that. And I had a few friends that were racing the age group race. So kind of to see them on the course, they shouted at me. So it was a really unique experience. And, that part of it I really enjoyed because you don't get that in ITU at all.
Right, that's what I was wondering. Really cool if you what it was like for you to actually have age groupers around you for a change. Like you've never really done that, right? So
no, so that was cool.
Did you feel Sarah True and I were talking last week about how there's a lot? I mean, in the U.S., when she moved up to Ironman distances, she had like way more fans in the U.S. because like the U.S. just doesn't really follow ITU as much. Mm-hmm. Have you found that? I mean, obviously you haven't done more than 170.3, but I'm wondering if you found that to be true, if it's different since you kind of are international, not just US based, if you have like ITU fans and like, you know what I'm saying? Do you see, did you get more
I totally know what you mean. I don't know. I think it does make a difference if you are a US based athlete because when I'm in Boulder, I never get asked about ITU. I always get asked, "Oh, do you do Ironman? Do you do Kona?" And I'm like, "No."
No, they're like, "I did this other one."
Yes, yeah, that's cool. No, so I definitely did notice there was a fair amount of exposure for the race. I mean, obviously not during the race because there's no live coverage, no one can watch, and the tweets are terrible. So, you just know, like my parents following her was just like, "Well, Flora's doing a race. We'll just wait 4.5 hours and see what happens." Like, there's a few tweets, but no one really knows. So I would say pretty even for me at the moment, but I do imagine if I went to a 70.3 Worlds, then I think, it would be a lot more exposure and really big for my profile, but probably big for my profile combined with my ITU background and platform coming into it.
Probably. Because like last year, even when like a couple of the Norwegian guys did really well at 70.3 Worlds and everyone who only really follows Ironman racing was like, who are these guys? And you're like, well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they're pretty good. Yeah, that's true. Yep.
So are you, again, with who knows what the plans are in the future, but are you planning then on after the Olympics, kind of after, Bermuda next year, moving up into 70.3 or longer, or just kind of continuing with WTS, or have you not really decided yet? Or are you just going to do Xterra like all the time?
Well, so I said I think in 2018 that I had a 5-year plan of my racing, but that has, which involved racing through the Olympics in 2020, doing both ITU and 70.3 in 2021, and then perhaps moving up and maybe trying Ironman. But after my 70.3 experience, I don't think there's any, I do not see an Ironman in my future. That is just so long. I don't know what I would do. But that has all really shifted because I missed racing most of 2018, most of 2019, and looks like most of 2020. Right. So, yeah, everything's a little bit up in the air at the moment, but I definitely, this year, as long as we are able to get back racing this year, I will definitely do 70.3 Worlds. That's 100%. And that is at the end of November. So that's like one, you know, I can be slightly optimistic about doing.
Right.
But yeah, if the WTS series gets back up and running, I'll be fully into that. That's my primary goal. And then, yeah, my future 2022, you know, we'll really have to see. I think a lot will hinge on how the Olympics goes. Whether I do continue to race short course or whether I decide I want to fully switch to long course. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where I'm at. I also know I'm one of the older women racing the ITU.
You're like, what, like 33?
I'm 32, but I'm like the oldest one in the races. It's shocking. They put your year of birth on the start list, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, do you need to do that? But no. So yeah, we'll definitely see. I think I definitely see less Xterra in my future, and more 70.3 in that long course sort of bracket. Because it really excites me. I think women's 70.3 at the moment is really exciting. Like last year in Nice, I was just like dying to be in that race. Like it just looked cool on the bike. There was finally like that different like dynamic, and there was so many strong women riding together that you were like, whoa, what is going to happen here? And then going up that climb, and yeah, it was just really exciting, which was like a new thing to see, that sort of dynamic in the women's long course racing.
It's gotten a lot more competitive at that top level. Obviously not like every single random race, but and then I was also pretty excited about, like, I thought a lot of you short course athletes were probably going to do Worlds in November. So I did think that was also going to be really interesting this year to see all of that together. So
yeah, totally. Cool. I agree. And who from the long course side, sort of like your Daniela and Lucy's, who after like a Kona would go to do 70.3, because that they also like they majorly impact the race and shape it.
Oh yeah.
So, and yeah, I mean, I'd hope so. I'd love to race with them. Like, oh man, this is so cool.
Oh, it'd be interesting. Now we're all like, everybody's going to have to place their bets. It's going to be very dramatic.
Gosh.
Oh, cool. Other than obviously everything, I feel like every time we record something or write something, I have to say, like, FYI, today it's March 30th. Everything might change by the time this airs, like 2 days later, because everything's changing like hour by hour right now. It's so tough to know. So that being said, you're staying in South Africa for now, and then like, what are your plans the rest of the year from here?
Okay, so my plans, as it stands today. So I was meant to fly April 1st, which I mentioned earlier. So that's not happening. So I'm hoping that flights are up and running in May, and I would like to fly back to Boulder and base there for the rest of the year. And just really see what happens with the racing. Hopefully some of it kicks off at some point.
Right.
And I'll definitely be there. I mean, I need to race. I haven't raced in so long, or not. I mean, I raced a bit last year, but
I was like, you did the Tokyo Test event, right? That was in like August?
I did.
Yeah,
that was August. So I raced from August to October last year. So I did a few races, but you know, I'm also very aware that I have sponsors and all sorts to try and keep happy. So yeah, hopefully there's some racing. I'll do some ITU stuff, and then, I mean, if there's hopefully 70.3 Worlds, I mean, prepare fully for that. That would be a really big goal. And that well, the year was supposed to work out. It was meant to have like 3 months pretty much.
Right.
For when the WTS season wrapped up until 7.3 Worlds to prepare for that. But no, we'll just have to see. It's all so up in the air. And yeah, just taking it day by day and hoping for the best, really.
You're not doing any of the Super League stuff, right?
No, I won't be doing any of the Super League events. I'm not part of that series.
I can't keep track of who's doing what. So.
No, most people do it. Most of them are doing it, but I've never done one.
And okay, so last week, Sarah True, to finish out, we played Would You Rather, a weird Would You Rather. So here's my Would You Rather for this week. Okay, given the current situation in the world, would you rather only be able to do your running on a treadmill for the rest of your life, but you can like bike outside and stuff, or only able to ride on trainer indoors for the rest of your life, but you can like run outside? Would you rather trainer or treadmill for the rest of your life?
Trainer. Easy.
Trainer. Really?
Oh, I hate the treadmill.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
It's pretty terrible. Unless you're, I don't have a super good one. So it's just like, I count like the seconds. So yeah, I think I would choose that. Okay. Although maybe with my injury history, I should really switch that around, but nah.
Like you can't get chased by dogs indoors, so.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that happened on Christmas Day.
I feel like someday we'll have a whole episode of just Flora's bizarre injuries.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and on this weird little Zoom call thing. Thanks for talking and chatting.
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.